So in today's video I want to talk to you about this beast of a lens, the Olympus/OM System 150-400 f4.5 Pro. Well, that's a whole mouthful, and I think actually there is a little bit more behind it, even the image stabilization stuff, but it absolutely is worth that mouthful. So I've been using it pretty much over the past 4 to 5 months, and I want to show you the results that I got with this beast of a lens, and why I borrowed it, and why I used it, and what I think about this thing. So let's quickly go into the video and I will show you my results. So the reason why I wanted to have this lens or borrow it is because I went to Sweden in January, and it was actually to replace 2 lenses in my kit. I had to take everything on board a plane. It had to fit in my suitcase. I would have brought this 100-400 5 to 6.3 and the 300mm f4. So those 2 lenses combined weigh, let's have a look, 2.4 kilograms. So that's those 2 lenses together. This lens, quality-wise and weight-wise, is similar to the 300mm. It only weighs 1.8 kilograms. So this is half a kilo less than those 2 lenses that I used to carry around here in the Netherlands. That's why I wanted this lens. First of all, the image stabilization is great. The image quality was supposed to be great, and it just weighs much less than those 2 lenses combined. So for my kit in the airplane, this was the perfect solution. So OM System was kind enough to lend me this lens, and it was supposed to be 2 to 3 weeks for me to lend this, but eventually they agreed on a little longer loan. So I've been using it for about 5 months now, and unfortunately it's going back into the crate tomorrow, back to OM System. But let's dive into the images that I took with this specific lens, because I am amazed by the quality that it produced. So let's first look at some images, what is actually where this lens is made for. So I think it's made for the wildlife, with the thought in mind of wildlife photography. And that's what I want to discover. Is this lens a good addition for someone who's into landscapes like me? That's what we're going to find out. So let's first look at those bird images, and I have to say that I am pretty surprised by the results that this lens made. So for example, here, this bald eagle here, you can see on its eye all those veins running over its eye. The accuracy, the sharpness is just ridiculously good on this lens. Also birds in flight, pretty easy actually with the stabilization in this lens. And the weight, it isn't that heavy. No, it's the biggest micro four third lens out there, and I think it's the most expensive micro four third lens, but you get a lot of buck for your money when you are using this particular lens. Also a snowy owl here in flight, it isn't the best composition, but the camera just really handles those situations well. And this is indoor in a zoo here in the Netherlands. Even in low light, it's an indoor rainforest, so there's not much light there. But even in those situations on ISO 3200, you are able to shoot magnificent images there. Butterflies at 500mm all the way out. This is, I don't know how you call it, a nose beer, I think something like that. That's what it's called, translated in Dutch. Very far high up in a tree, 500mm, and still even those nose hairs are coming out. So the sharpness is absolutely amazing of this thing at the long end, and that's what usually the little problem was with the 100-400, which is a very good lens. But the sharpest point is before 350mm. So above that it gets a little bit, it loses a little bit of that sharpness. And this lens is just all the way out from 150 to 500. It's absolute crisp sharp. And you can even add the teleconverter to it, which I actually didn't try. So you can see some more birds here. close-ups, birds a little bit further away, but in all those situations, all the details in those feathers are still in those birds. And then we went to Sweden. So this is the Sweden trip that I did, and this is one of the first images that I shot. And this isn't shot with this lens, the 150-400, but to show you what this lens is capable of. I just stood there. There wasn't much room to walk. You know, the snow was about this high, so there was no way to walk around. And I just mounted this thing on my tripod and started looking around. There's a little bit of wind coming here, so I'm sitting in my garden, so I hope the wind isn't disturbing too much. But while I was standing there on top of this bench with this lens, I just looked around this lake, and this is where a lens like this with this focal lens gets in handy, because you are able to isolate all these beautiful small pieces. For example, I zoomed into the opposite side of the lake, making this composition here. But also on the other side, that was on the right and this was on the left side, some colors of the sunrise, I think it was back then. And then this beautiful composition with that red shed in it. And also I seem to like this one really much. You know, you can isolate this little house, making it a bit of a strange image, but I just seem to like that. But the best images, for example, this is the island that you saw on that first image from Sweden, but then zoomed into all the way with this 150-400, that you can really isolate these trees, those snowflakes, creating this magical atmosphere. And also here on the house, you know, the focus isn't on the house, but the atmosphere in this image, I just seem to like it. I don't know what you think about it, but I really, really like this lens. That's what I started to do, and it didn't matter in Sweden if I got an island miles away. So again, 500 millimeters here on this island, and the quality of the image is still amazing. Also here a mountain top, very, very far away. This is not like a kilometer, this might have been 15 kilometers away. It was absolutely amazing. And I shot this handheld while I was standing on the side of my car. Really, really crazy shots that I produced with this lens. This is also a shot at 500 millimeters, just isolated a piece of the top of a mountain. And that is what this thing is good for, you know, isolating images, small images in the large world. That's just amazing. Also here during a sunset, I just isolated this piece with this one tree that lit up extremely much if you compare it to the other ones. But that's what it's good at, you know, for a landscape photographer, to catch those small things in that big landscape. For example here, this little broken fence here in the middle of snow. This tree standing in the middle of a snowfield. It's just amazing. And also with animals in Sweden, like this, I think it's a Highlander, we call it like that here in the Netherlands, in the snow, this reindeer in the snow, or this one. And there is, of course, a lot of disturbing factors around it, but with using a focal range like this, and knowing that it's absolutely crisp sharp, it doesn't matter to me that that animal is far away, because I can still catch it. And also here a close-up of a reindeer, but also reindeers a little bit further away. This is even after sunset. You can see it on the blue tones, and I still managed to get this shot on ISO, I think it's 6400, and still the image looks really, really nice. Here another shot of those same reindeer walking on this lake, and this is maybe 1,000 meters away. It's really far away, but no problem with a lens like this. What I just like to do, especially with those reindeer shots, when the reindeer are facing away from you, you get a landscape and the reindeer become part of the landscape. If the reindeer walk the other side and look towards you, it's all about the animal. And in this case, it's not about the animal, it's about the landscape with the animal. And that's what I like to do with a lens like this. And also here with these humans, you know, this is on a lake, but there of course are elements to the side of it. But with a focal range like this, you can isolate things and kind of manipulate the scene. this looks like she is at the end of the world, or he, I have no idea actually. But that's what you can do with a lens like this. You can fool everyone. You can see there are some trees here on this side, and on this side you can see there is a mountain. But if you zoom in even further, you can only get the fog and the ice and this skier here on the ice, or ice skater. I don't know what he's doing. I think it's called langlaufing, something like that. But that is what you can do by zooming in. You illuminate all those disturbing factors and still get that crisp, sharp image that you are hoping for. Then I went back to the Netherlands and they told me, you can keep this lens for a while longer. So I took it along with me over the past 2 months in my backpack and started looking for amazing images like this one. You know, there is a tree line in the back here. I'll put a link up to the video up here, you can see it. But only because I zoomed in and isolated this tree before that tree line, I could catch this beautiful golden light. That is what it's good at. Isolating subject, catching that perfect atmosphere, that light is just amazing. And then that deer walked into the frame as a little bonus also. You can see here a little close-up of that deer. And this is also a shot at, I think, 500mm with the teleconverter on. And here you see the same with this rose. You know, it's just one rose in a field of roses. You know, it's all lines that are run through the field, but because you can isolate it, you can catch these images. And that's the beauty of a lens like this. Here another one of the sunrise in this case. Here a little duck in a pond, catching that beautiful morning light, that atmosphere here in this image. And also here, I call this the bachelor party, this image. I just really like all those male ducks swimming together in this beautiful, beautiful atmosphere. And here, a couple of days later, in a real foggy atmosphere. But then we went to Switzerland and I shot this image, one of the first images, just before sunrise. From the top of a mountain, and I was a bit disturbed by the location I was in. I didn't like it. I thought it was crap. But then this lens proved that this is perfect for situations like this. You see, you can really isolate those lit up peaks in the distance, create these beautiful painting-like images. Amazing. Also these boats here in the harbor just shot straight down into the lake at 500mm with the teleconverter on. Here another shot with those peaks in the light. And here a good example of what compression can do. Of course the moon went down, so the moon became a little bit bigger. But by zooming in with this thing all the way to that moon with the mountain, this moon got enormous. So it just looked phenomenal for me, at least in this image, and I just really love it. Here another one, just a quick stop next to the road, handheld shot, 400mm, not a single problem for this lens. And here also in Tuscany, you can see that I caught this little piece section of light. I'll put a link up to this video up here. And you can see that this light isn't that good actually. It's just that section where the light is good. And I just isolated it, caught it with this lens. And yeah, that's what I really like about it. Another shot a couple of days later, also in Tuscany, really far away. So this is also 500mm, but it's just looking through the camera, looking for images like this in this vast, big, wide landscape, just gives you so much more opportunities. Here, this farmhouse in cloud inversion, you know, it was just popping in and out of the clouds and showing itself, but really nice atmosphere to it. Here another one, a close-up shot actually of this farmhouse. And I think this is one of my favorite images of the trip to Tuscany. Just isolated these 3 islands, yeah, in this vast landscape of that cloud inversion. And the quality is just amazing. And all the shots, except for the ones in Sweden, are shot. The ones in Sweden were shot with the OM1. All the other shots are shot with the OM1 Mark II. So if you're wondering about that, And this also a shot from Lago di Garda in Italy. Actually quite nice, and you can, if you zoom in, even see those birds flying around here. Absolute crazy details in this lens. So there's one thing as a landscape photographer that you have to be careful for when you are using this lens, and it happened to me a couple of times over the past months. You know, this is a great lens to get something frame filling into your screen. The only thing you have to be aware of is when you're shooting at 400 to 500 millimeters, you shoot through a lot of layers of air, and of course the earth produces warmth or wind or anything, but usually it's warmth creating distortion through your images. And when you're shooting a little bird on a tree, then that's not a problem. But when you're shooting kilometers away a landscape, then there is distortion in that landscape. So you really have to be careful and watch out for those situations. You know, sometimes you just can't shoot an image. It happened to me in Sweden a couple of times. Even in that cold climate there were distortions of heat or cold. I don't know what it is, but you just could see it. I'll put a little clip up here that you can see all the blurriness that occurs through this lens. And that actually happened because I used the roof of the car as my tripod. So the roof was warm due to the sun, and I was just having all those heat waves before my lens. But it also happened in Tuscany when it got on a bit of a warm day. I could see all those layers in the background creating a blurriness on my subjects. So there is a limitation to it as a landscape photographer, but those things usually don't occur during sunrise. During sunset the air is warmer, so you get a lot more of these opportunities. But when you are doing much more sunrises like I am, then that isn't much of a problem actually. So that's the only thing you really have to watch out for when you are a landscape photographer. And another thing is the aperture. If you are shooting that far away, you will notice that how do you say that? That if your subject is in focus, the background is out of focus very, very quickly. So couple of solutions: you can raise the aperture, of course, or make a focus stack. For a focus stack, of course, try using a tripod. But I had it a couple of times, couple of images that I shot too, one for the background, one for the foreground. But most of the times I wasn't even bothered that the background was not completely in focus, but because of the atmosphere in that particular image. But all in all, my verdict: is this lens worth buying for a landscape photographer? Absolutely, absolutely. So this lens is so good that this is, I think, you know, I've said it before, I don't have a particular favorite lens, but this thing comes pretty close to having a favorite lens, I can tell you that. So that's my verdict. Those were the images that I shot with this lens. Unfortunately, I have to return it tomorrow, so I'll put it in the crate this afternoon and bring it to the post office tomorrow, so it's going back to OM System. But I am telling you, it won't take long, and then this lens will be in my bag, because I'm gonna get one for myself. It's just a marvelous piece of technology, and for me it's a lot of money, but absolutely worth every penny that they're asking for it. So yeah, that's my verdict. So I hope you liked this video, a little recap of the use of me with this 150-400, and I hope to see you on the next video. So if you like this video, then please push that thumbs up button and leave a comment underneath the video. I always like to engage with everybody watching this video. And please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I'm a landscape photographer. Next to landscapes, I do some birds, wildlife, macro often, but 90% is landscapes, all with OM System and Olympus gear. I'm one of their ambassadors, but I truly express my own honest opinion here. I don't get paid by them. I just love their equipment, and that's why I became an ambassador and not the other way around. So yeah, I hope you liked the video. Hope to see you on the next video. That will be back in the landscape here in the Netherlands again. So if you're interested in that with some stunning foggy conditions, then please hit that subscribe button and I'll see you next week. So bye bye.